Hey everyone, today for another vlog, and today I want to talk about shame engine burnout. So it's kind of a bad title, honestly, but I think it conveys what I want to express. Because I don't think a car engine can actually burn out. I don't think that's the proper term. But what I'm trying to say is that when the engine no longer works, basically, right? And in this case, it's the shame engine, right? It seems to me that the main way that things get done in civilization, throughout civilization, right? Human civilization, so not hunter-gatherer, but like more organized societies and such. Even if they were prehistoric, right? Like even if they were like Stone Age or whatever, like more organized things. It seems to me like the main engine of this type of collective civilization has been shame. At the very least, quite clearly in the historical period of mankind, right? Like antiquity and Middle Ages and on forward, and especially the modern age. It seems that to me that shame is really what drives everything, and the way I would express it is that to me currently is that there's just a very clear burnout of this mode of doing things out of shame, out of identifying something that is not good enough about me and trying to work on it or trying to like quote unquote fix it. It just feels awful in your body at some point because when you take that approach, that framing, you're already saying, I mean, consciously or consciously, that there's something wrong with you, and that just reinforces shame and self-hatred in a sense. And at some point, I don't know, just I'm really tired of that. And school, for instance, is basically how it works. Like you you get shamed to or you get shamed and get stressed into like meeting the deadlines and the assignments and the tests and the exams, and that's the main engine. It's not curiosity or learning or wanting to create cool things. It's just pure shaming, and I think it's quite clear that this is really the main thing that society does. It always like restricts your choice or like makes you feel bad about something, but it never gives you like something to get excited about or like something to get curious about. Because in a way, people who are like curious and or enjoy life, that they're not very easy to control, right? Like, whereas someone who's like very like has very low self-esteem and such, well, suddenly they can become very easy targets for like marketing and just deriving meaning from their job or such, or any type of behavior that is like within the constraints of society. But I want to expand on another point. So the first point I made so far is that the main thing that drives action in society is shame and control, I guess, to some extent. But the second thing I want to talk about is how it seems to me like there are many engines in a human being, like many sources of action, and that just because you don't no longer feel like using shame as it doesn't mean that you suddenly are not able to get things done. But certainly something to realize that certainly most of the structure within society are around that shame, so if someone doesn't feel the shame and for example of deadlines, well, they no longer have like the same drive to be consistent, right? The same way. Whereas if they follow the curiosity, they might enjoy them a lot more, but they might not be as reliable or as controllable, rather. Right? So it is worth noting that there is sort of like a incompatibility between a free man and society, right? So freedom is great, but it is also worth keeping in that mind that small bit about how uh, society is not made for free men and women, or the people. It has nothing to do with gender, but like it's yeah, it is worth keeping in mind. But then again, why should you set on society and all that? That's another question. But it is worth keeping in mind. And yeah, like even though there's like a shame engine burnout, to me, it doesn't necessarily feel like there necessarily is a curiosity or joy or connection engine burnout either. Like I guess you could say there's like two main sources of fuel like for action. Like there is like away, um, trying to run away from something, so denial, shame, like running away from feeling bad about yourself and all that. And then there's like towards, so like curiosity, joy, connection, things like that. So like it seems to me there's like two main sources of fuel. Um, and it's not so much that like they are the same, but like it could be very well to be the case that one is very underdeveloped. I think for most people, it's probably that the shame engine is overdeveloped. Like, I don't think it's completely useless to have shame as your driver, but I think when it's the only source you know of, I think very quickly it leads to a sense of like, if not burnout, if not explicitly burnout, that like a general sense that life is like a drudgery, like a list of things to do, a list of you know list of like yeah, tasks that you have to perform, and a good daily grind essentially. I think that's usually what the this approach that I've leads in towards. And to me, it's not necessarily so much about completely dropping it, but like at the very least, like cultivating the other one, right? Such that you run on like something other than just pain or self hatred. And so the other side of it is action towards something that you find curious, or other people that you want to connect with. And the thing is that society doesn't really prevent that, I would say, in my opinion. It emphasized the first one, the shame engine, or like the away engine, but like I don't think it really stops you from developing the second one. It's just that it's never really like shown to you as a possibility or as an example. But I would say it's not really like society is not really an obstacle towards developing the second one. It's something to realize. Right? Like even though it strongly promotes a form of control and consistency, and the way a lot of people start going to the gym, for instance, that they start feeling ashamed about their own body. But you can probably do the same things quite honestly. You can probably quite it. I don't think it's easy, but I think it is completely possible to do the same things, but like, just by straight up just switching the source of motivation. But that being said, it is also worth keeping in mind that there's probably a certain like shift of quality and type of getting things done. So like I mentioned how if you let your curiosity drive your life as opposed to shame, you'll probably be not as good as meeting deadlines and just being consistent. But on the other hand, you would be feel a lot more alive, right? So I think to some point extent that there's some trade-offs of like so I think those are worth keeping in mind. But I would say that overall the trade-offs are probably lean more towards positive, right? So like just because there are trade-offs doesn't mean it's like a 50-50, right? There's probably way more good to be found in living your life out of going towards things rather than always shaming yourself. And but it is worth keeping in mind that there's a trade-off, right? So if you want to go to the gym anyway, but instead of shaming yourself, you focus on well feeling healthy and all that. It is very much possible that you will not go as hard in the gym, for example, but at the same time you might be far more consistent if you actually focus on trying to enjoy exercise as opposed to turning it into a grind, or like doing exercise for other people. Like you might not go as hard as someone who like is very shame based about having gains, about making gains in the gym, but you might also be far more consistent, right? So it is worth keeping in mind that there are downsides, but there are some massive upsides if you can do it well. So I think overall it's pretty much a very clear net positive with a few downsides that are worth keeping in mind. But the downsides, they're more like how to say, downsides are more like in the sense of you not playing the game of society anymore, which is not really a downside, but it is, it is different, right? It is deviating from the norm, and it is worth keeping in mind because it's not always like a it's not like everything is just improves, right? But I think the vast majority of your life will probably improve by being driven not by shame. And so far this vlog have been kind of like hypothetical because quite frankly most of my life is still dominated by that shame engine, that way of getting things done. Like it's been 1 year now since I've left university. It's kind of crazy actually. It's been 1 year. Didn't realize. Yeah, it's been 1 year since I've been done with school, but like it's still there in my like system. Right? Like I can feel it in my body, the shame and the sense of like, oof, there's something wrong that needs to be fixed and all that. And it's still very much something that dominates me. But at this point, I'm just really tired of coming from that place. It's just not fun. It's just not fun, you know. Like sometimes you just want to just say that good enough is good enough, you know. Like that's probably one of like the deadliest sins of the religion of the modern world. Is like if someone says that good enough is good enough, then they've somehow committed like some type of they somehow like said some blasphemy. Honestly, that's how it feels like to me. It's like one of those implicit obsessions and insanities of the modern world. Is how you can never just let something be good enough. Like there always has to be, um, s- supposedly what, uh, some type of improvement or whatever. Like people can never just rest and stop wanting more. It's kind of crazy actually. It is actually a massive insanity when you really zoom out on like an existential level and how absurd it is to constantly want more and more, because that desire of wanting more also leads to many other problems, right? Like so in some ways fixing problems can often lead to even more problems than before in some situations. And yeah, it's a pretty crazy insanity, the insanity of shaming yourself to do more things and then just keeping that loop forever and forever. um I guess the last thing I kind of want to finish with is I haven't really developed that thought and that sense in myself, but I can sort of notice that a lot of people can actually, including myself, a lot of people are actually quite attached to the drama of solving problems. Not just solving problems, but like the drama of creating problems in the first place. And the reason why this drama is needed, I think, like it's not needed, but like it is something that people gravitate towards subconsciously, is that, well, first of all, we unconsciously get stuck in that loop of desiring more, right? Out of being stuck in a survival mode. But I think another part of it is, besides the survival aspect of it, another aspect of it is the meaning aspect. So, we live in a world that is quite bad at giving us a sense of meaning and belonging. And so I think a lot of the way a lot of people derive meaning is by just getting stuck into this loop of problem solving, like constantly identifying things to improve or to solve or to fix, whether it is in themselves, such as in self-improvement, or in the external world, such as activism, or basically anything to do with like trying to fix the world, right? And I think the problem with this drama is that it's very like there's a sense in which you don't really want to end it. Like you don't really want to solve the problem completely. So, for example, if you're fighting, if you find meaning from like helping poverty, in other countries, let's say, there's a sense in which if there was an organization that would basically spend, as like 1,000 times or like 10,000 times more resources than you have, I feel like there would be a sense in which you kind of feel robbed of your contribution, right? Because you want to feel like you're making a difference and not just solve the problem, right? And so, like, to me, there's a sense in which like the struggle for problems is also deep at its root. It's a trying to find meaning, and so when the problem is solved, like there would just be another problem to be found anyway, just to find another source of meaning. And so that's kind of a weird, twisted thing to notice about this. Like, it's kind of a weird, twisted thing to notice about this. Also, this like shame paradigm of getting things done is that it's not just that you do things to to feel better, but like the reason why you shame yourself in the first place is to maybe get a sense of meaning. Like it's kind of twisted to think about it, but I haven't like made myself super clear maybe, but and I also haven't made myself super clear for myself either. But it's kind of the thought I just wanted to throw out there. And yeah, that's about everything I had to say for today. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.